Hi, everybody. This is Aaron Mesh with Willamette Week. This morning, I'm joined by Multnomah County Commissioner Jessica Vega Pederson. We're talking about a fairly historic moment this week, the first really big step of the Biden administration and what impact it's having on Oregon families in particular. Commissioner, thank you so much for joining me. Can you talk a little bit about what the stimulus bill means for working and low-income families?
Yeah. This was an incredible uh, uh, recovery package that was put together by the federal government, that was passed by the Democratic Senate and House and signed by Biden this week. And it's historic in the way that it really is going to make a difference hugely for children and families, especially those living in poverty. And it really has some other components to the package too that are going to be helpful to families overall. So the letter that we sent to our federal delegation really focuses on the per child monthly payment that was part of the package, but there's also billions of dollars that's in this Recovery Act that goes to childcare and childcare tax credits and help for our childcare providers, which we know is also something that's vital to getting people back to work, and also a whole industry that's been hit so hard by the pandemic. So a lot for everyone in this bill, but especially a lot of good things for our children and families.
How much money is going to Oregon kids and families in this package?
So what we have is it's a per child monthly payment of $300 for children under the age of 5 and $250 for per child for those over the age of 5. And there's an income limit towards that, right? So it's really on lower and middle income families. But what's different in this package compared to what was in past things like a child care tax credit, for instance, is that it is actually going to be a monthly payment that you get every single month versus something that you only get when you do your taxes at the end of the year. And unlike what we had in the past, which only was for those people who actually filed taxes, this is something that is going to be universal, that everybody would receive. And it's a much better program because previously the lowest 10% of children living in poverty actually didn't get to take advantage of any of this.
This lasts for 12 months, right?
Yeah, it's for the 2021 tax year. And but it makes such a critical difference in the lives of children to have this monthly help, that we need it to become permanent. This is historic change in the United States, but this is actually something that other countries do in giving cash payments to families to help subsidize the cost of raising children and having children. We know it's bad for our country to have so many children living in poverty, and this is going to make a huge change for families. It's not, obviously, for anybody who has kids, it's not going to cover the entire cost of having children. Even at the lowest level, that's about just under $800 a month. And obviously it can be more than that. But what it does do is give families a leg up. And this cost is about equal to the cost of housing a child, right? And when we think of, especially here in this region, the issue of houselessness, and especially for children experiencing houselessness and the instability that provides, this is a huge game changer on that front.
So in some ways, it's a housing subsidy for parents.
You can look at it like that for sure.
You sent a letter to Congress this week that essentially says it's time to make this a permanent part of the American fabric, right?
Yes, and that's the thing. We're making this investment right now in response to a crisis. But we know that we have had so many children and families that are living in a state of permanent crisis that we need to make these kinds of changes permanent.
So the counter argument to that, I suppose, would be that this was intended as kind of a way to leverage people back into the workforce who otherwise could not afford to do so, and that problem will be solved by the end of 2021. That sounds ridiculous, as I say it out loud. But
you believed it when you were saying that.
Yeah, I found it hard to really persuade myself of that. But what are the arguments for making this into a permanent part of what we do?
I don't think there are any good arguments for it. Again, as I said before, this is something that other countries have done for a long time. Canada and Germany actually have a larger one that they do on a permanent basis. It is, and so, this puts us kind of in the middle of the pack of doing something that other countries have done for a long time. And it's something that I think we need to do, frankly. We have too many children living in poverty. In Oregon, I think this is going to make a difference for at least 90,000 Oregon children. In Multnomah County, that number is more about 30,000 children living in poverty. That doesn't go away at the end of the 2021 tax year. That's why we need it to be permanent.
Between this and universal pre-K, it's been a pretty good year for policy around children living in poverty.
Yeah.
What are the hurdles that still face those kids, though?
Well, I mean, I think we still have an issue around housing and the affordability of housing, especially here in the Portland metro region. When we look at things with the federal poverty level, right, which is this policy is based on. But a lot of the work we did around preschool for all was we looked at something called the self-sufficiency standard, which is really what it takes to raise a family to survive in Multnomah County with no help at all. And that's still incredibly high. That's 34% of people who live in Multnomah County are under that self-sufficiency standard. So there have been a lot of good, good changes and long-term changes that'll have an impact. But we still have to continue to realize that there's a huge difference between those who are doing well, and especially have been doing well in the past year, and those who aren't.
What is the self-sufficiency standard?
So the self-sufficiency standard, it's not like a certain number. It's basically, it differs for your size of your family, for instance. So when we were doing the preschool for all work, for a family of 4 with a preschool aged child and an infant, it was just under $80,000 a year. So you would need to be making $80,000 a year if you have a 3-year-old and an infant to really be able to afford housing and childcare and transportation and all the other costs of living